modern day manager not have a mobile phone?
Why should he?
Oh.
There we go. It's a good corner in. Oh, it's a brilliant goal! A brilliant goal by Flores! A great corner kick in now by Michael Duffy. And Flores made it in the meat and just pulverised the goalkeeper. He got a hand to it, but he had no chance of stopping it because it just flew in the top of the net. A wonderful goal and a wonderful comeback from Dundalk a couple of minutes after Rovers went into the lead. And certainly that's one goal that will be for goal of the season. He didn't let it drop at all. He just hit it on the volley, and no one seen it till it flew in the top of the net.
The skill of the whole weekend, and maybe the year, came from Dundalk's Jordan Flores with that goal against Shamrock Rovers. We normally only show Premier League, but that deserved a special mention.
Yeah, man of the moment, Jordan Flores from Dundalk FM on Friday night to match of the day 2 last night with Ian Wright, Mark Chapman and Jermaine Genius, giving that the stamp of approval. So we're going to talk to Jordan Flores on the show this evening. We will also bring you some Mark Lawrenson in conversation at Goodison Park yesterday with Stephen Doyle. We brought you live commentary of that game here on Off the Ball. I should tell you, 58 minutes on the clock. Arsenal fans, it looks like any threat of a shock or disaster averted. It's 2-0 to Arsenal, 58 minutes on the clock. Socrates with the first goal, and just in the last 5 minutes or so, Nekatia, or Little Eddie, as Gary Breen tells me they call him around Arsenal, has scored Arsenal's second. So 2-0, 59 minutes on the clock. Now, time to talk to this fella. You're that fella, Pat Nevin. How you doing?
I'm grand, absolutely grand. I've managed to thaw out. By the way, Jordan's goal. And you're going to talk to him about that. So I've watched it about 6 times. I still don't know how the hell he done it. He looks as if he's going to pop his hip joint out when he gets his body into that position.
Yeah.
And I think we talked a couple of weeks ago about body positions. I was explaining about what's his name down at West Ham, Scottish guy, great crosser of the ball. Name's gone. Back in a minute. Anyway, body positions that people get themselves into when they take free kicks and corners these days, and you freeze it afterwards, they're really, really weird body positions, but you can kind of understand them. I still have no understanding of what Jordan did there. It is really, really weird. So I'm not telling you what questions to ask, but one of the questions worth asking is, did you know what you were doing? Did you know how you get... Could you put your body into that position again? It was absolutely astonishing.
Not Snodgrass, is it?
That's Snodgrass, sorry, that's the name. I was sneakily trying to look up my computer here so I could see it. Yeah, Robert Snodgrass, extraordinary.
I sneakily looked up on my computer as you were talking, so I was out of vision, so I could do it.
It is unbelievable. I freeze things and check people's the mechanics of the body, and his is unbelievable. Just do it once. Just have a look at a free kick of his, you see in the telly or that, and then freeze it just after the ball leaves his foot, and you'll go, eh? What are you doing?
Well, I do remember down the years wondering how David Beckham's ankle ligaments on his left leg withstood the free kick routine, but they tended to. Yeah,
it's unusual. It's not... Most people kick the ball the same way, the technical way you kick a ball, like you're a footballer. Although I remember once, I don't know if I've told you before, when I was a kid, I was about 13 or 14, and I went up to train with Dundee United. I was at Celtic Boys Club at the time, up to train with Dundee United, and they wanted to sign me. And this coach came, and I did well, and the coach came over, and he was a player coach at the time. And he walked over, and I thought he was going to say, great, you're brilliant. I was scoring loads of goals, and I was taking around loads of players, and I'm waiting for the compliment. And he said, you can't kick the ball, can you? I went, what? He says, you've kicked the ball all wrong. And he deconstructed my body shape when I kicked the ball. And I think it's really impressive that a guy would see you from another pitch while he was playing, walk over, change your body shape, and make you kick the ball differently and more clean. And I've learned from it. It changed. Anyway, whatever happened to Walter Smith? No idea. That's who it was. He was a player at Dundee United, and he actually managed to do it. So structurally, how you position your body to a ball is different for different people. Like I often watched Wan-Bissaka. Very, very strange body position when he does it. It's not good. But certainly Jordan, I have no idea what you've done there, and I think if you do it again, you might cause yourself an injury, mate.
Yeah, not recommended for viewers at home. What did Wan-Bissaka could probably use with some deconstruction if he was open to it at this stage in his career. Can you remember what Walter Smith, very generous of him by the way, can you remember what he changed in a young Pat Nevin's kicking style?
Yeah, what it was is my foot wasn't level with the ball when I kicked it, so each kick was a kind of scoopy, flicky thing, which I kept on doing, but you have to also know how to kick the ball clean and straight, and it's quite simple. When it's in front of you, your left foot, if you're kicking your right, should be level with the ball while you kick through it, not 6 inches behind it, because then it's like a golf shot. You need to be able to put your whole power and your body through, and your body comes through it. And if you play a golf shot, you end up facing the way you're looking at. It's a very simple thing. Butch Harmon would have done it with any golfer. Yeah. But it's quite similar with kicking a ball as well. But if you've never actually been told it and you've learned bad habits like any bad golfer would do, you have to almost deconstruct it again and bring it back again. And that's what he did. But as I say, I do that. I look at a lot of players like that and where their body shape, where their head is and things like that. I'm sure I've talked to you before about Phil Foden. He's a classic example of it. Watching other players, and he just never looks at the ground. He just always looks up, which is great, which is what you should do.
But that was what you were taught to do as well, wasn't it, by your dad?
Yeah, that was specifically taught by my dad because he'd learned off of watching Jock Stein teach players and all the rest of it. So it sounds not very technical, but it's the sort of thing where you could easily get it wrong if you just learn bad habits going up, or just not technically told the right things.
No, it's true.
It takes a good coach to actually do that, but I still haven't got a clue what Jordan's doing. I just don't know.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. On the whole technical thing, JP, our producer out there, Pat, who you talk to before you speak to me, he will often blade a golf ball across a green, and it's because he has the ball too far forward in his stance, and I don't know how to tell him, so I'm trying to do that now. Help him out on the national radio. I'll let you in a secret. We've already spoken to Jordan Flores. It's a pre-recorded interview because he's very busy. He doesn't know how he did what he did. It was all very instinctive. It was a training ground routine. You'll have noticed everybody ran to the front post and he popped up the back post. And in training, he's meant to head the ball. Yeah. That's the routine. And obviously, bit high, bit windy, and just kind of a hop and a skip, and tried to somehow get solid contact on it. And interestingly, he said that the ball was in the net by the time he was able to look up, whatever his position he'd got himself into. So he looked up, next thing he knew, ball was in the net, and he didn't fully know how good the goal was until he saw it. So that's Jordan Flores.
Exactly. So there's a bit of luck involved there, but he's managed the luck and he's got there. And somehow, if you're in the right space and time in your head, you just manipulate your body to get. I mean, again, another good example is Frank Lampard. When I watched all his goals and had a look at them all and analysed them all. And he was one of the best I've ever seen him manipulating a body shape so that he always got perfect contact. And he's running at full speed. And you see lots of guys running into the box and it flies off the side of their foot unless it's right in front of them at a good angle. But Lampard got all those goals because wherever he was, he manipulated his body in such a way brilliantly. And it was always different ways that he always timed it perfectly. And it does seem the easiest thing in the world, but it's actually an incredibly hard thing to do. There are very, very few people that are that good at it, and he was stunningly good at it. And I don't know how much you can teach that sort of thing because some people are just really natural like that.
It's interesting you mentioned that. That is such an underrated skill, and the best strikers in the world, like Aguero. Who am I really thinking of? Barcelona Brazilian forward back in the day in the 90s, Romario. These guys who in a box never kick a ball balanced. It's always they're crouched over, defender around them, off balance. It's the most underrated skill in the game because people who are unpracticed in it, I suspect, are like, hang on, how am I meant to kick a ball, turning, twisting, falling over?
Well, I read a book when I was a kid called The Beautiful Game. It was Pele's book. And Pele wrote, and I developed books about football when I was a kid, but most of them weren't that interesting to me. But his was quite good because there was really interesting technical bits in it. Yeah. And he was explaining the virtues, the reasons why you should do lots of keepy up, practice it. Because how often do you keepy up in the game? Very rarely. But the point is, whenever a ball comes to you, it doesn't matter. And his explanation, if it's in a sphere around you, by one touch, wherever it is, it should be at your feet. So wherever it comes to you, whatever pace, if you've done keepy-ups and you've got understood to get your body and understand how a ball moves, by the second touch, it's on your feet.
Yeah.
So it comes to you there, or chest, or head, you kill it and do that. And that's the same sort of thing. It's knowing how and when to manipulate your body. And it's something I learned a lot of that, and I'm really into that keepy-up thing, so that I knew and understood that and was quite good at that sort of thing. But, you know, the technical things, people talk about it as if it's brand new. Well, okay, they've got cameras to watch you now and lots of people looking at you, but, you know, intelligent people deconstructed it themselves and thought about it themselves.
Sure.
Pelé was definitely one of them.
I'm sure, yeah. Zidane was the name that jumped to my mind when you described that ability to take a ball out of the air in his general circumference.
Yeah, I was standing directly behind him the day he scored that winner at the European Cup final at Hampden Park.
Yeah,
and it was
Leverkusen.
Yeah, and you're looking and thinking, well, you can't score. Oh yeah, you can score from there if you can manipulate your body in such a way and still redistribute the power perfectly and beautifully. And again, and the sickening thing is, when they do it right, it looks easy. It looks easy thing. That's the worst thing about it. It just makes it look easy. And Zidane I agree with you, he was fantastic at that.
So, to talk about matters more mundane, Vicarage Road, 3-0. We knew Liverpool's record would come to an end at some stage, 44 Premier League games and however many hundreds of days. 3-0 at Vicarage Road never seemed like the most likely scenario, but Watford played very well, and it was not just Dejan Lovren who was not playing well in that game. Quite a few Liverpool players were flat and off. And
they have been for a while. I would say it's been noticeable since the turn of the year that there's been a lot of flat performances. But we're impressed with them because, you know, they're not effervescent, they're now efficient. And that's all right, as long as it produces the wins. And I think there were massive, massive warning signs that, particularly the Athletic game, no real chance, or very, very few real chances. But the game against West Ham, the one that I was at last Monday night, it wasn't for the fact that West Ham scored a couple of goals, it was the fact that they created a hell of a lot more chances as well. With limited amount of possession, certainly Liverpool had far more possession, but it was quite easy they were doing it, and the understanding between the defenders, in the background.
It's like BBC News here.
Yeah, no, exactly. So the limited amount in the background of, we were saying about Liverpool, negative things about them, but I think a lot of people are saying, you're losing chances there, you're getting caught a little bit more often. And I was trying to think about it, you know, the big thing about them is, you know, they've got the back four and the two full-backs keep on going, and that's absolutely fine because they've always got the intelligence of a midfielder, such as Henderson or Milner or Kate or whoever it is, to cover in those areas. There seemed to be a big lack of that covering over the last few weeks, you know, and there's a lot of teams getting beyond and behind the centre-backs and into those areas. And it may well be that everyone's looking at a lot of different things. I think they'll start seriously looking at, right, okay, that covering play in the midfield there, you're getting carried away a wee bit. You need to sit a bit more. When our full-backs go, let's be structured about this. You know, before that, you're looking at, you know, two centre-backs and one of them happens to be, you know, the best in the world. So you get away with it time and again. But that was it, the second goal that Watford scored. It was a one ball behind Van Dijk, and he never caught him. And Van Dijk catches everybody generally, and that jumped out as well. So I think a wee bit of cover, because, you know, I think tiredness, yes, a wee bit of mental tiredness, definitely the part of the case as well. But certainly the game against West Ham, I was watching it and thinking, you need to be honest about this. Most Salah scores the winner. Didn't play well. In fact, he was really, really, really average, and he hardly ever got by his defender, and just looked a complete and utter shadow. And I'm sure he'll come back with a wee bit of rest. Problem that Liverpool have got, they've got a game against Chelsea coming up here in the FA Cup
tomorrow,
and they've got a massive set of decisions to make. I mean, it's the FA Cup. I mean, against Everton, they threw out a bunch of kids. Against Shrewsbury, they didn't have to put a big team out. But this is against Chelsea. It's at Stamford Bridge. Do you go for it, or do you just sling the FA Cup? And I tell you, that's a really big call at the moment, because the league's won. So do you really need to worry about it? Had they won against Watford, I think, they could maybe take a chance and keep another strong team. Losing against Watford, I think there's a chance to think, right, okay, we can't take a chance with these players, and we might have to rest the ones that looked hard, such as Sane and such as Salah as well.
Yeah, because I was wondering about the tired thing, and the point was made that they're just off a break. But sometimes when you're tired and you take a break, it's the worst thing you can do. Even Alexander-Arnold's had some iffy performances at times. In Madrid, he wasn't himself, and he certainly wasn't at the weekend. Yeah,
particularly that back pass. He still looks okay going forward. I think maybe sometimes. I remember playing. I'm sure I've said it before. Playing against Andreas Bremer. Was one of the great German defenders. And he's great going forward. I remember getting him 1-on-1 thinking, I don't know if you can defend me. I really don't know if you can. Because I don't think he'd played in teams that were defending much. And he wasn't spending a lot of time at left back. So some of these guys, particularly in the modern game now, a lot of the fullbacks, they're not brilliant defenders. They're great at pushing the other way. And by the time you get up the park, you've run so much that maybe there's not the energy to get by them. I think certainly David Moyes, he's seen it with West Ham, he just thought, nah, we're going to have a go.
Yeah.
And maybe he'd spotted a wee bit of tiredness there and thought, yeah, we'll stand, we'll take them blow for blow and just see what happens. And maybe he had no other options, but you look at that, and then I'm sure Watford looked at what happened with the West Ham and thought to themselves, well, we're at home now. We'll just show we've got more energy. They did that, and that really helped. And it makes it sound really, really easy, and I don't think for a second it's going to really scupper them going forward in the league, but it's certainly going for all three competitions. It's a bit iffy whether they can go hammer and tongs when they are looking a bit jaded.
Yeah, well, we'll see what they do tomorrow. Speaking of David Moyes, really good win for West Ham against Southampton. They were 3-1 winners, and they need that result. That was their only, on paper, winnable match in the short term. And then Everton won, Manchester United won. I'm watching the Portsmouth-Arsenal game on the TV in front of me here, and the goalkeeper is passing the ball to his centre-halves, and I suspect David De Gea might be at home watching, again thinking to himself, why didn't I just boot the ball? I was always going to boot the ball. It was always going long, and that is just a strange mistake. He is making too many mistakes for supposedly, once upon a time, the best goalkeeper in the world, and different kinds of mistakes.
Yeah, it's very, very strange to see. Remember, he did make an absolute brilliant save later in the game, which managed to get them that point that they actually got in the end. But you're right, it was, it had far, far too long. And again, it's one of those ones, that's just a switch off. He's just not concentrating to the level he should be concentrating at. And he wasn't expecting to be closed down. He had 20 yards, time, plenty of time. There was one, the ball was played back to him, and there was one not so great touch, not a terrible one, just didn't get it enough out of his feet. But even in the run-in, I didn't think Calvert-Lewin believed he was going to get it.
No, I thought Calvert-Lewin was looking at him saying, oh, don't make me run here. Just, David, don't make me have to jog in and go through the routine. And so he was going through the motions, and then he just kept going, and then he thought, hang on, you're in trouble now.
Yeah, but he's just slung a lazy leg out. It wasn't I'm going to try and get it. He just threw a lazy leg out. Yeah. So even when he done it, he probably didn't think he was going to get to it. So a bit of bad luck as well. But, that's the goalkeeping thing. Nobody was looking to get the pass from him. And if you're going to head along, it's basic. It's very, very basic. And then, of course, I thought it was a bad mistake for Pickford as well up the other end. So they make mistakes, these guys. But De Gea at the moment, it's quite surprising after... Maybe it's not that surprising. He had a long period, didn't he? Well, he was the Manchester United Player of the Year, year after year, because he was saving them every single time. And his technique is an interesting technique. It's a different technique from lots of other goalkeepers. But, they are beginning to show now. And I think the backup keeper's a good keeper as well. So you're thinking, why don't you take a chance on him then? Yeah. Or Chelsea have done it.
Yeah. We'll hear more from Mark Lawrenson later on. He was at that game with Stephen Doyle. The other big result yesterday was Wolves beating Spurs. So just to touch on Spurs briefly, this is sort of an Irish-centric thing. Like, I wouldn't suspect this is a big talking point so much over there, but the Troy Parrott situation sort of rumbles on. And he was put on with about 2 or 3 minutes to go, 17 years old. Mourinho like explicitly saying a couple of weeks ago he's not ready, and really, you know, almost shot him down to a point. That's fair enough. Like, if a 17-year-old's not ready and Jose Mourinho says he's not ready, he's going on 18. But if he's not ready and Mourinho says he's not ready, I think that's a fair enough call. But putting him on with 2-3 minutes to go, to me, felt like something of almost a political statement. This is all I have. You know, this is what I got. On you go. And I just didn't. I don't like the vibes around Parrott at Spurs with Mourinho at the moment. Like, if you're going to put him on, give him something. Give him 10-15 minutes. It
is a weird one. You generally get put on by a manager with 2 minutes to go. He's winding you up, really. He's either winding you up or he's, as you say, making a statement. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's you want to slow the game down, or you're just trying a last gasp effort for something like that. But that comment you're saying there, it sounds like a message to upstairs. This is all I've got, or maybe to the fans. But if it's a message to upstairs, it's one of the worst things you can do. I've seen it time and again. I've watched Mourinho doing it a few times. It's happened quite a few times down at Chelsea. Managers have kind of went, well, this is all I've got. And you just think that's actually nonsense a lot of the time. You could rethink it in a different way, juggle the team about sometimes and rethink it those sort of ways as well. But maybe that is what Mourinho does. I mean, classically saying he hasn't got any strikers at the club kind of thing. I don't know if it was at Barcelona recently were allowed to get a striker in out with the window because they needed an emergency. And I'm thinking, get stuffed. You put a centre-back and a winger up there. You can do that. Teams have done that from time immemorial. Instead of spending your whole time moaning about it, you know, Lucas Moura, you stick you up front, Dele Alli, stick you up front, you can do it. They might not be as good as the other guy, but it's not the end of the world. They are professional footballers, and you need to manage with the cards you're dealt. But when they're aiming at that to the media, that's fine. If you're aiming that back upstairs as if you've let me down, that's the start of really bad things, because fans see it, you know, you yourself, pundits, everybody sees it. And I've never come across an executive or a chairman or a chief exec upstairs who's thought, oh yeah, good point, thanks very much for letting us know that in front of everybody. Who don't take it like that. They think, yeah, thanks for winding us up there, it's more complicated than that, but you're making a statement it's unfair and very pointed. I don't think that's a good move, especially we know that understanding that Daniel Levy and Mourinho have got, you know, it seems great. It seems great so far, but it's early days. The test will come when that's stressed a little bit, and Mourinho could do without pushing that. Yeah, especially with an 18-year-old at the centre of it. On the other side of that result was Nuno Espirito Santo. Did you see his interview in the Sunday Times yesterday? No, I've actually got upstairs. I'm not quite ready yet. This will be right up your street. There's so much brilliant stuff in this. For one thing, I had not realised that Nuno Espirito Santo was Jose Mourinho's sub-goalkeeper at Porto when they won the Champions League. So he talks about Mourinho then and how inspirational he was. But there's so much wisdom almost in Santo. Like, he drops out sentences like, you know, don't make a plan in life because you can only fail then. Just live. You know, he's a bit of a philosopher, speaks 5 languages. His son is studying theoretical physics, talks about his childhood, growing up off the west coast of Africa on this idyllic island next to his grandparents, and how that's the life he wants to go back to. He says, where one light switch turns off one light, that's the life I want. But the thing I wanted to put to you was, well, there's 2 things. Okay, they're both tactical, and this will be what kind of will interest you. He was asked about Wolves being a counter-attacking team, and he said, okay, you say that, no problem, but how do we counter-attack? So he says, what we do is we prepare when we're going to and where we're going to recover the ball, who's going to recover it. We determine the moment of the counter-attack, and you unbalance the team without the ball. I work on that process. And he was asked, so is Jurgen Klopp similar? He said, no, Klopp's different. That's counter-pressure. Basically, they lose it, they just try and get it back straight away. Whereas what we're doing at Wolves is trying to orchestrate things so that, you know, and manipulate the opposition when they have the ball, so that we not pinpoint the moment, but we have a good idea where we're going to win it back and why, and then we are ready to go and hit them, which is really interesting to see where, you know, that's where the game is at. And he also said the 1920s WM formation, the 2-3-3-2, he said that is the way the game is going, and I want to be the first to get there. It's brilliant that, because he's obviously he's looked into it in depth. In all those systems like that one, then there was the Veru, the Swiss Bolt one, which comes after that one, which leads on to another one, which then leads back onto Catenaccio. So they all led to each other in different ways. Before that, there was a Hungarian one as well. So, yeah, the game has evolved, but there's nothing wrong with looking back to old magic and find out what worked then. It's not a continual, all the way up. 4-4-2 was laughed at for 10 years, 15 years. And now have a look at the Premier League, and there's quite a few teams throwing in a 4-4-2 now. So, yeah, there will be something to counter whatever anyone moves on. So you counter that with that, but that thing from back there might actually counter that one from the top. It's not a direct line, so I understand exactly where he's coming from. This idea of where you close down and where you win possession, now there's all kinds of phraseology they use these days. Everyone knows about low blocks and high presses and funneling. Now, funneling's ancient. Funneling, that goes back. It was generally always used by on centre halves or funnel people towards something. Now, this seems like a slightly more complex version of funneling. So you funnel it to where you are in the deep midfield.
Yeah.
Now, that's actually really unusual and really quite clever. It's not one you hear a lot about. But technically, now, just saying that, I get it. Because if you funnel there and you get there and the wing backs are gone beyond you, there's gaps.
Yeah.
Especially if you get... And when you say that, I mean, classically, I absolutely thought you're off your head when he buys Traore. I'm thinking, no, really, you're a football team. Why are you buying Traore? Really? I mean, have you gone that direction now? Of course, it's exactly, you look at it now, and they've worked on his technique, which has improved. They must have worked really hard on him because his technique was awful beforehand. But of course, you add a bit of technique to stupid amounts of pace when you're playing that system. And it's genius. It actually works. And hands up when someone gets something you've never seen it. In a month of Sundays, I'd never considered it. I've seen it. But it's brilliant. It's genius. And it works really, really well. I've seen something else in that game which was very old school. I'm trying to think who it was. It might have been Jota or Vinegre. They got the ball and dribbled really old school style round about 4 players before passing on to Jimenez. And I thought, I've not seen that sort of type of dribbling for years. There's different types of dribbling you can do, but that very specific, not just a step over the ones the other kids learn these days, but it was a drag back, pulling through, flicking it over the shoulder of the defender, coming inside. And I'm thinking, that's a really old school way of playing. There's very few players. I mean, even the ones that I adore at the moment, there's not many doing that. And I saw them doing that, I'm thinking that. So much so that I froze it and rewound it just to look at it because it was so unusual. So you talk about him looking at the WM, I hadn't heard him saying that, but now you say it, I'm thinking, this guy's a complete student of the game. He had learned all those things, but not learned them as a bit of history, learned them as a bit of, right, okay, I'll see when that works. It's genius. By the way, I'm upstairs after this and I'm reading that right away.
Listen, it's brilliant. It's such good stuff. I'm going to talk to you next week about how he deals with players who are late for training. I'll just park that there because we're out of time. We've got to go and talk to Jordan Flores about his goal. So thanks so much, Pat.
Pleasure as ever.
Cheers. Thanks very much. Pat Nevin there. Arsenal 2-0 up on Portsmouth, 85 minutes on the clock.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Duff and Heskey.
The Pat Kenny Show.
On tomorrow's programme, amid mounting local tensions, we speak to an Irish doctor volunteering at a refugee camp on the island of Lesbos. The culture of schools rugby hasn't become a hotbed for snobbery and thuggish behaviour, and we preview Super Tuesday as the US presidential race hots up.
The Pat Kenny Show.
With Jaguar.
Tomorrow morning at 9.
On News Talk.
Relax this evening and visit itsforwomen.ie. Great value car insurance for those on the go. Get the cover you need day or night at itsforwomen.ie. It's time to own it.
Bring the day. Bring the new home.
Congratulations, the house is yours.
Bring new life. Bring new beginnings.
Enjoy college. Call us.
Bring the new year. Whatever change life brings, embrace it with a new Volkswagen. Discover unmissable offers and low-rate finance across the Volkswagen range. Search Volkswagen 201 and bring the change. Terms and conditions apply.
Did you know that if you supply new or used cars or light commercial vehicles to drivers in the Republic of Ireland, you have a legal obligation under end-of-life vehicle regulations? That's where Elves can help, by providing you with the most cost-effective option to ensure you're compliant. Visit elves.ie for your motor dealer application form. Elves. Driving car recycling forward.
Taste the West with Saltwater Festival in the beautiful Westport House, Mayo, May 29th to 31st. Featuring Dermot Kennedy, Johnny Marr, The Coronas, Basement Jacks, The Stranglers, Maverick Sabre, Wallace Bird, The Scratch, and loads more. Check Ticketmaster and saltwater.ie for more details.
Switch to SSE Electricity and get an incredible 26% off your home electricity. Switch today and join the thousands of Irish homes and businesses sourcing their power from 100% green energy. Get your 26% discount today. Free phone 1800 818 466. This is a great deal. This is Generation Green. EAB €879.22. Offer from 20th November 2019. Rates valid from 3rd of December 2018, subject to change. 1 year standard unit rate discount for new home electricity customers on direct debit and e-bill. For details of T's and C's, EAB, exit fees, standing charges, see sscelectricity.com.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Shearer and Owen.
There we go. It's a good corner in. Oh, it's a brilliant goal! A brilliant goal by Flores! A great corner kick in now by Michael Duffy, and Flores landed in the meat and just pulverised the goalkeeper. He got a hand to it, but he had no chance of stopping it because it just flew in the top of the net. A wonderful goal and a wonderful comeback from Dundalk a couple of minutes after Rovers went into the lead. And certainly that's one goal that will be for goal of the season. He didn't let it drop at all. He just hit it on the volley, and no one seen it till it flew in the top of the net.
The skill of the whole weekend, and maybe the year, came from Dundalk's Jordan Flores with that goal against Shamrock Rovers. We normally only show Premier League, but that deserved a special mention.
Yeah, there you are. Match of the day 2, making a rare exception for Jordan Flores' goal on Friday night. Jermaine Jenas, Ian Wright nodding along in approval. And before that, you heard Dundalk FM. That was John Murphy and Gussie Herity very much enjoying the goal, which has gone around the world. We're up to 6 million plus views, I think, at this stage. It's been on SportsCenter, ESPN. Didi Hamann called it the goal of the century, the best I've ever seen. FIFA are saying a potential candidate for the Puskas Award. Over in Spain, AS are saying it should win the Puskas Award. So it's all gone a bit crazy. And, well, we thought with that in mind, we should speak to the man himself. Jordan Flores is on the line. You can hear me, Jordan?
Hello, yeah, can hear you.
Good man. I listed out some of the reaction there from around the world, literally. It's a bit mad, really.
Yeah, it is a bit mad. The phone's not stopped going off all weekend, so, you know, it's good recognition, so, yeah, it's good.
Were you watching Match of the Day 2 last night when they threw it up?
I wasn't watching it, no, but a few of my friends sent me the video, so I've seen it.
Yeah, I was watching on Friday when you scored the goal. I was watching Match of the Day last night. I was thinking, that is a hell of a weekend. I presume when you see the ball fly into the net, you know it's an exceptional goal.
Not really, no. In my head, I was thinking that we'd just got back into the game and it was 1-1. So yeah, that was a kind of the reaction. Yeah.
At what stage does somebody say to you that was amazing? Is it half time? Is it after the match? Is it when you're talking to the press or family? When do you start to realise this goal has become a big deal?
It was kind of after the match, really. Seeing it myself, but I couldn't really enjoy it because we'd lost the game. So the emotions of losing the game were there. And they still are there, to be honest, at the moment. So probably take me a good couple of weeks to look back and actually enjoy the goal.
It was Michael Duffy hit the cross. It's certainly, looking at it back, has the look of a training ground move because pretty much everybody else runs near post and you drift out to the back post. So this was something you guys had worked on, clearly.
Yeah, that's it. I usually go out short for corners with Mickey. And after the goal I scored against Cork, we decided to switch it up and hopefully something would drop to me at the edge of the box. And then we worked on that set piece, and I went a few times in training with my head and missed the target, so I thought, why not I'll volley it this time.
Okay, I was wondering, because I presume, in training, you're meant to head that ball usually.
Yeah, that was the case, yeah, but don't know, just something, the way I reacted and the ball coming over, I didn't think it was that high. So I've just gone with the volley and then, yeah, it's got it.
When a ball's coming at you like that, so you see the flight of it, you probably realise, I'm not being marked here, I'm going to get a crack at this. Are you thinking about just getting your kind of foot over the ball and keeping it down? Are you trying to put power on the ball, or are you just trying to use the pace that's on the ball? Like, what's flying through your head in that millisecond where you have to react?
You kind of just see it dropping down, and you have to watch it onto your foot, and you're just thinking about making a good connection. And as you're seeing, if you make a good connection, then the power of the ball just looks after itself. So yeah, it's just all about making a good connection, really.
Yeah, because I guess if you get, the power will come that way, and the goalkeeper, nobody has time to react really then.
No, that's it. Even myself, by the time I'd looked up, it was in the net. So.
Right, okay. To get your foot that high, I'm sure you've seen it yourself. I don't know. It'd be interesting to know if you were even conscious of doing it, but you almost do a little spring in the air just before the ball arrives to get up. Again, probably instinctive, not something you think about, but I'm sure you've seen it when you watched it back.
Yeah, that's it. I think it is just instinctive because at the time I didn't realise how far I'd actually lifted my leg up. So yeah, it's just one of those in the moment things, and yeah. Luckily it went in.
Well, pretty amazing. I hurt my hamstring watching on the couch, so I don't know how you kind of did it. It was an amazing goal. And have you seen all that stuff, like the likes of Didi Hamann, incredible player, saying things like best goal I've seen, goal of the century, all that stuff? That's a bit surreal. I like if the Puskas nomination may come your way. I mean, if it did, that'd be just kind of insane.
Yeah, that's it's obviously good to receive recognition from legends like that. And if that award if I did get nominated for that award, it'd be great. But I'm just concentrating on football at the moment. Moving on to Friday because it's a big year for me in terms of my football and trying to stay injury free. So all of that stuff goes to the back of my mind, really. Yeah, and look, I do appreciate you coming on because I'd say you were maybe in two minds to come on the radio when you've actually lost the game. You don't want to be out front and centre saying, "Look how great I am." So I totally accept that. Your prevailing emotion is you would rather have won on Friday. You mentioned there about staying injury-free this year. So you joined Dundalk last year, and it was a year really damaged by injury. You probably didn't get to show your best stuff. I saw Vinnie Perth said you're as fit now as you've been at any stage in your time at the club. Last year was quite a slow year in terms of trying to get myself back up to speed of playing first team football. And then it got hindered by injury. But this season I'm a lot settled in at Dundalk, and I'm looking forward to hopefully what's going to be a good year. Good man. Well, listen, we wish you well with the season. It's obviously off to a pretty good start for you personally. Have you settled into Dundalk life? You're there a year now. You're finding it okay? Yeah, definitely. Probably took longer than what I wanted it to do, but all the lads are great here. The fans are great here, and yeah. I'm settled and I'm looking forward to the season ahead. Good man. Well, listen, amazing goal again, fantastic stuff. And as I said, the reaction is a bit nuts, so we thought we'd check in with you and get your perspective on it all. Jordan Flores, thanks a million. Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Juff and Heskey.
Closing time. A girl sits alone on the curb. Head down, worse for wear.
Do you remember me?
This young lad sits beside her. No. Says he knows her, can walk her to her place.
Your friends told me to take you home.
His pals don't blink when she staggers and falls. They shrug it off with,
"Nice work, pal."
Here, better leave it to it.
Enough is enough. Let's stop excusing sexual harassment and sexual violence. Learn more at gov.ie/no excuses or in an emergency call 999. This is an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Panadol presents Homegrown Heroes. Meet Eileen Power, a volunteer with the Finnisk River Riders.
Finnisk River Riders are a special needs riding club. We started small and now we train and compete in Special Olympics competitions.
The active ingredients in Panadol Extra Soluble relieve 5 types of tough pain to help you meet pain with strength and keep doing what matters most. Panadol Extra 500mg, 65mg soluble effervescent tablets contains paracetamol. Always read the label leaflet.
When you sign family members up with Vodafone Red Family, our multi-mobile package, you're guaranteed a third plan completely free. However, we're afraid you're not guaranteed peace and quiet on family road trips.
Are we there yet?
That the jokes in the family group chat will improve. Or that family snaps will come out perfectly.
Say cheese!
But for a guaranteed third mobile plan absolutely free, pop in store to get Vodafone Red Family for your whole family. Well, except the dog. Free plan offer based on adding Red Plus as a third account. Contract depends on package chosen. Offer ends March 30th, 2020. See Vodafone.ie for full terms.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Now you're welcome back.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be with Mark Lawrenson
yesterday.
at
You would
Goodison
have
Park.
heard Stephen Doyle and Mark Lawrenson at Goodison Park on commentary duty for us. Everton won, Manchester United won. Mistakes aplenty in the first half. Goal ruled out at the death, so a 1-1 draw. And at full time, Steo and Mark Lawrenson had a chat.
Now it's a pleasure to be with Mark Lawrenson at Goodison Park today. 1-1 draw. Wow, we thought it was going to be a cracker of a game in the first 20 minutes, didn't we?
Yeah, I think it was so good. Eventually, I think they tired themselves out, both teams. I thought United were really impressive in the first half, but obviously Everton stuck at it. I think the early goal and mistake by De Gea obviously helped them, but United at times today showed a little bit of quality that I've not seen probably from them for most of the season.
When you think back to the start of this season, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was getting an awful lot of criticism, and I suppose rightly so. The team were playing badly. Slowly but surely he started to move players out of the club and bring some new players in. You know, he deserves a lot of credit now, you'd have to say, after the last number of weeks, considering the amount of criticism he got when things were going wrong.
Yeah, you feel like it looks like they've started to turn the corner. I'm a little bit kind of not 100% sure, because we've seen this a little bit for false dawns from them before, and then all of a sudden they go and lose away to Watford or get beat at home by somebody. But I think the signing of Fernandes has made them look completely different. And in a dressing room, when you see a player who comes in who's got obvious ability, you know, straight away all the forward players are thinking, wow, this fella can see a pass, and this fella might play me in, and this fella might make me a better player. And by the way, he's also nicked a couple of goals since he's been here. And I think, you know, Matic is back, which is good. McTominay's back, so they've got that little barrier in terms of central midfield. Maguire's been outstanding. The right back looks a good player. Generally, the goalkeeper's outstanding. You know, I know Rashford is out, but they're starting now to look like a good team. I think they've got a good a chance as anybody in finishing Champions League.
You mentioned a couple of times during the commentary about their passing, how impressed you were. It's very sharp, very quick. They're trying to get the ball forward as much as possible. Is that down to the new players coming in, or is it down to a lot of coaching by Solskjaer off the field?
I think it's down to Fernandes as much as anything, because they've had, is it Pereira in there, Mata in there as well, and Fred. When we've watched Fred, and Fred started today and did okay. When we watched Fred before, he kind of looked like a little boy lost, but again now it looks like he's come alive. No, I think, you know, sometimes you just have one player and it kind of sparks the whole thing. They've got loads of pace. They've got players missing today. James, Rashford obviously is also a big miss, but all of a sudden in midfield they look like they can construct passes. They're all quick, you know, they've all got a good touch as well, and if they need to scrap, they've got, you know, as I say, McTominay and Matic, and then you've got obviously Lindelof and Maguire, etc. So all the parts of the components of the team are starting to look better.
Yeah, you mentioned Lindelof, Maguire. You know, we have to give credit to their back four. Like, I know he's played with a back three as well a couple of times over the last number of weeks, but
yeah, I don't think he'll do that again.
Yeah,
I think now when he looks at the makeup of his team, he doesn't need to, because he's got that barrier in front of the two central defenders. So I would think his use of a back, I think that'll go now. That'll disappear.
Is Ancelotti in a kind of a similar situation to maybe what Solskjaer was in when he took over at Old Trafford? Because Everton went on a spending spree over the last 4 or 5 seasons.
Every player they bought was 50 million.
I think
every player was 50 million.
I think they've nearly spent over 400 million pounds now since Moshiri came in and took over the ownership of the club. Farhad Moshiri, I should say. So is Ancelotti kind of in a similar situation as Solskjaer, where he's got all these different bits and parts and no players that he's brought in himself, and he's just really trying to get to the end of the season when he can start maybe putting his own imprint on his team and buying his own players?
Yeah, I think so. And I think, you know, I wasn't quite sure, but he said in January he wasn't going to buy any players, and I kind of thought, you look like you need one or two, but he's obviously, they've all bought into him. We know he's a very, very good manager, and he's playing 4-4-2. He's one of the very few teams that plays 4-4-2. Calvert-Lewin's starting to look like a really good player, and he's added goals to his game. We know Richarlison's also a good player. I think with a little bit of him in midfield, he's maybe got one or two players who are very samey. So he might do something and address that. He doesn't need that many players, in all honesty. And the thing is, as well, at this place, when it gets rocking, it's a really difficult place to come and play. So if he gets the right players, Everton will be a force. And we know they want to move to the new stadium, which is only 2 or 3 miles away, etc. And hopefully for Everton that will happen. But if he's in charge, if he's in charge for the next 2 or 3 years, you think it would definitely happen.
He did say in January that he wants to hold on to Richarlison. Now, you always kind of get the feeling with Richarlison, is he one of those players that is going to get his head down and, give all he can for this club, or is he always maybe looking for the next move? How important do you think he is to Everton? Do you think it's important to keep him here?
Yeah.
Or maybe to offload him and get the big transfer fee?
No, I think you keep him. I think you keep your best players. And I get the impression watching him play today, he was chasing back and everything. So I think the manager knows how to press his buttons, as it were. And the other thing with Richarlison, that thing about going to Barcelona, I think that was just paper talk. But the thing with him, if you start to get better players in to help him and to give him more service, which I think they will do, he'll then start to score even more goals and become he's a good player now, but I think he can become a top player. And he's still relatively young as well, so I would hope he hasn't had his head turned by somebody trying to tap him up saying come and play for Barcelona or Madrid. He isn't at that level yet.
Jordan Pickford's another blunder from him today, and again we spoke, Mark, during the game about Gareth Southgate being here. He was at St James's Park yesterday. Look, Gareth Southgate could be looking at any number of players in these games, but there is a possibility that Nick Pope, who's been in brilliant form for Burnley this season, could really put Jordan Pickford under pressure for England in the European Championships this year.
There is. I still think Pickford's number one. Yes, he made a mistake today, but then he made a really good double save. In fact, the second of the double save, as it were, I thought was outstanding, again with his feet, but that doesn't really matter. But I think it's one of them, when you really look at it, Pope plays in front of a back four at Burnley who are unbelievably well drilled. They head it and they kick it and they do it all day long. And he really, he doesn't... Pope's not a guy who can come for crosses or anything. He's a really good shot stopper. So he's had a really good season. But I do feel, the England manager's probably just left by now, and he's still thinking, look, Pickford's my number one. And I think it's like anything, but I just think with Pickford sometimes he's a little bit immature in terms of not just on the pitch but off the pitch, and he just needs to keep his head down because he's a very, very good goalkeeper, and I think he's probably the best English one there is. He just made a few mistakes, but it's like anything, especially over here. If you make a mistake, you get absolutely slaughtered. But the fact he can recover and make a double save towards the end, I still think he'll be England's number one.
Now, from an Irish perspective, really sad to see Seamus Coleman going off injured today. Look, we'll hope it's not a really serious injury that will keep him out of the big playoff this month against Slovakia. But if he was to miss out, it would be a big blow. But as we saw again today, Matt Doherty scoring for Wolverhampton Wanderers against Tottenham Hotspur. Disappointment for Mick because he needs strength and depth, doesn't he, going into a tie like this?
Yeah, well, that's, in a nutshell, when he's got everyone fit, Mick, we're very, very competitive, and we're very, very competitive, but we ain't really got any goals in us, which is the greatest problem, because it is the hardest problem to solve, somebody scoring your goals. But we'd want as many people fit as possible, and then if you want to change a little bit, you've got that opportunity. I just feel with our team, it almost kind of picks itself at the moment. But a few days before we play the first the first big game, that Mick will he'll have his phone on thinking, I hope it doesn't ring, because it won't be good news, it'll be bad news. So we could do without any more bad news, and hopefully Seamus is fit.
Yeah, Mick seems to be reluctant though to play Matt Doherty from the start of games if Seamus Coleman is fit. And as you said, we need goals. If you've got a player like Matt Doherty scoring goals, then surely you have to try and squeeze him into the team somewhere.
Well, do you for one player alter the system? That's the question. And Mick's not like that. Mick's, I played with him for a long, long time, and I think he's a very good manager, a very good manager. Mick's not for bending, and he can suggest all the things you want to him, but he's got a way of playing. And as a manager, he's done a very, very good job wherever he's gone. So I don't see that. I don't see him changing the team. He might just say to Doherty, look, come on, play right back, but maybe you can't bomb on all the time. Kind of pick your moment. So, hey, we'll wait and see.
Troy Parrott then as well coming on today for Tottenham Hotspur. As you spoke to Joe on the radio about it, coming on the 90th minute, he's not going to do too much from there. Look, Mark, from your own experience, if he's in this situation in the summer where he's at the club, he's after signing a new contract, and if Mourinho's going to be still there and he's starting to get frustrated, he's not getting games, should he just be looking to go out on loan in the summer?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, it's like we study here at Goodison, but across the road at Liverpool, they've let one or two of them out, and they've let them out for a few years, because the other thing with the club, it's a two-way street, because some of the players, look at Harry Wilson, who's at Bournemouth, he's not going to get in Liverpool's first team. He did well at Derby, he's done really well at Bournemouth, and if they sell him for 20 million, it's paid for the academy. And also, until you let players out, you don't. Where do they play? That's the other thing. So they play in the under-23s. Well, that doesn't really mean a lot. They need to be playing. The Championship's brilliant. I'm a massive Preston fan. I watch loads of Preston, and there's loads. You see loads of loan players. That's the only way you can see that they improve. And by the way, when they'll even go back to the parent club, they suddenly realise how big the parent club is, how good a club it is. But listen, it's for the football club, it's a way of making money, and it's a way of looking at those players and judging them and saying, like, Liverpool want Champions League players. Do I think Harry Wilson will play in the Champions League for Liverpool? I very much doubt it, but he might go and sign for a Burnley or whatever to 20-25 million, and it's a two-way street, but they have to play because they have to prove themselves, and they want. It's no good playing. They play these little games, organised games against other sides where they're just friendlies, and it's like 30 minutes, but nobody tackles. It's not competitive. It's just all about your fitness. So no, go in the Championship and just try it, because that is dog eat dog. If you survive the Championship, you're going to be a player and you'll make a living from the game.
Dan Toohey interview from Monday Night Rugby, well worth a listen if you didn't catch it earlier on. We are pretty much done.